Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Evanston. I'm Reverend Susan Francis. I'm the Assistant Minister for Congregational Life here. And today our worship associates are Sarah Vanderwicken and Griffin Larson-Erf and Sue Larson for our Time for All Ages. Whether UCE is your spiritual home or you are just finding us, we are grateful to share this time together. We strive to be an inclusive and welcoming community, seeking truth in love and nurturing the human spirit for a world made whole. We are guided by our values and inspirations, which remind us in every moment and through every challenge that each of us is worthy of love, and that we are all connected through the vast and beautiful web of existence. We come together to remember our kinship with one another and to hold one another in heart and mind with tenderness and careful attention. We come together to dedicate ourselves more fully to living out our shared values. People of all ages are welcome and important in our faith community. We are blessed to have the children in the sanctuary for the first half of the service and for the entire service once a month. The nest in front, which is full this morning, is our designated area for families with young children. We have quiet fidget toys and activities and a kin-friendly order of service. The nursery is in room 11 in the lower level if that is needed during the service. As part of being a welcome and inclusive community, we have some information that is going to scroll through on our screen that will help those of you who are new orient to our space. And I have a few announcements. Wednesday, April 16th is our soup kitchen. And we still need a few more people who are willing to make the casserole. You make it at home, and then you bring it hot here, and it gets put in the ovens and to stay warm, not to cook. And we also need a few more servers. Please see the link in the newsletter or on the member-to-member Facebook page, or you can contact Ellie Feddersen. Thank you to everybody who's already signed up to make our soup kitchen a go, and thanks in advance for those of you who will fill in those empty slots. You are invited to our UCE Justice Revival, Cultivating Hope. It will be on Saturday, April 12th from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30. We'll meet here in the sanctuary. If you can come get your coffee at 9:15 so we can start promptly, that would be great. Our YWCA consultants and members of our anti-oppression task force will be guiding us through tips, tools, and resources to support our justice initiatives and send you home with hope, energy, and a commitment to our future work. And in anticipation of that revival, you are invited. When you are in kinship time, you will see that there are some beautiful artwork that Maggie Wilson made with a question: what seeds have you planted? And there are little seeds where you can write the ways in which you currently in your life are engaging in justice work, whether that's here at UCE, in your work, in some other volunteer place. So you're invited to put those seeds on the windows. And then there'll be Maggie Wilson at the program table if you have questions about the revival. Next Saturday, April 5th, some of us are meeting for the Hands Off Our Democracy demonstration at Daley Plaza. If you want to join us, please meet in front of the Gene Siskel Film Center on State Street by 11:50, and we'll walk together over to the Daley Plaza. March 31st is the Trans Day of Visibility. And today, this afternoon, from 1 to 3, at the Federal Plaza in downtown Chicago, there is a rally to demand visibility, justice, and equality for trans and non-binary individuals and communities. Trans people need to see supportive allies right now, and if you are able to attend, please do. And now, let us settle in for a time of reflection and celebration and inspiration. As we begin our worship service, I invite those of you joining online to gather your chalice as we join in beloved community. Welcome to worship.
The Unitarian Church of Evanston resides on the traditional homelands of the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations. The land where we sit was transferred from the local Potawatomi community to the U.S. government in 1829, sold to white settlers, and then, after the defeat of a pan-Indian movement to keep white settlers out of the Great Lakes region, the Potawatomi community had no choice but to sell before being forcefully removed west of the Mississippi River. We also remember the ancestors of contemporary African Americans, the individuals, families, and networks of Black people who built up our country's culture and economy, which was a role forced on them originally by enslavement. We are indebted to their labor and their unwilling sacrifice, and acknowledge the tremors of that violence throughout the generations still felt and witnessed today. These acknowledgements are one small effort toward building long-term solidarity with contemporary communities. We commit ourselves to incorporate these acknowledgements into our lives and turn our thoughts into actions. Please join in our words of shared commitment. We name these realities with honor for ancestors, respect for our descendants, and gratitude for the land we use as sacred space. Karen Courtwright brought the flowers today in honor of her father on the occasion of his 91st birthday and in celebration of Penelope Josephine Courtwright, just beginning her life of love. As she lights our chalice, symbol of our living tradition, please join in saying the words on the screen by Reverend Susan Francis. We gather to co-create our future sharing experiences, exploring our trepidations, and stirring up hope. We join together to generate more moments in more places for more people, grounding ourselves in generosity, accountability, and belonging. We gather to encourage each other, knowing the values we share in our interactions here become a part of us and shine through us as we take our vision, our plans, and our love out into the world. Please rise in body or spirit and join in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Before we sing our opening hymn, I invite those joining us online to greet each other in the chat, and those gathered here in the sanctuary to turn to one another briefly to say good morning, trying to greet someone who is new to you.
Please stay after the service to continue your conversations. If you are new to UCE, please stop by the welcome table. It has the red tablecloth, and Peter and Christy are back there this morning. Let's keep creating new relationships and building kinship among us. Please join in our opening hymn, 1060, as we sing of hope and joy.
Our time for all ages this morning is a story from a book that Reverend Susan bought from the Tibet bookstore in Kathmandu during her travels through Nepal. It's The Yelling Yeti, written by Gina Devi Gurung and illustrated by Alina Chantel. In a small village high in the Himalayas, there lived the Yetis. Yamuna was the youngest of the Yetis. She had recently started to... Is this good? Whoa. She had recently started to yell, and...
Yell!
Nobody knew why she yelled. Yamuna's Amma is Nepali for mother, would say,
Yamuna, please tell me why you are yelling. We are strong and elusive. Pardon me. We are Yetis, and we don't yell.
Yamuna just looked at her mother and yelled. On a cold, blizzardly day, Maya, a Himalayan monal, swooped over Yamuna and pooped on her head. Splat! As soon as Yamuna felt the poop on her head, she yelled louder than ever before.
Yell!
Suddenly, the earth started to shake and tremble. Crack! The ground below her feet split open, and Yamuna fell into a crevasse. She landed with a loud thud. Yashoda, a big mountain yak, heard Yamuna yelling and peered into the crevasse.
Hello, called Yashoda. What's going on down there? Why are you yelling?
Yamuna looked at Yashoda and saw her big horns. Yamuna let out a loud
Yell!
Yashoda also ran away in fear. Yamuna yelled and yelled. No one came for help. It grew windier and colder. Yamuna became silent. She hoped someone would help her out of the crevasse. At long last, Sonam, a snow leopard, appeared. Sonam peered down into the crevasse. Once again, Yamuna yelled at the top of her voice.
Yell!
However, Sonam did not run away. Sonam was also a strong and elusive creature. She watched as Yamuna grew tired and stopped yelling. Yamuna looked up at Sonam and asked in a low voice,
Would you please help me?
Sonam said,
Ah, finally. I was hoping you would stop yelling. My name is Sonam. How may I help you?
Yamuna replied,
I am Yamuna. I fell into this crevasse. I can't get out.
Sonam turned and lowered her long tail towards Yamuna. Yamuna grasped Sonam's tail and held tight. Quietly, after being pulled out of the crevasse, Yamuna asked,
Sonam, may I ask for another favor? I have a twig stuck in my fur. I can't get it off. It hurts and makes me upset. So I yell.
She sobbed.
I'm afraid to ask for help because I'm a Yeti. I'm supposed to be strong and shouldn't need to ask for help.
Sonam replied.
That is very unpleasant.
Sonam used her sharp claw and removed the twig from Yamuna's back carefully. Yamuna sighed with relief.
Thank you, Sonam.
Sonam said,
You are welcome, Yamuna. But remember, sometimes even the strongest ones need help.
Yamuna nodded.
So,
Said Sonam a few moments later.
would you like to help me build a snow leopard?
They laughed together. From that day on, Yamuna learned to ask for help. She didn't yell anymore. She was strong. She was elusive. She was a Yeti.
Thank you, Sue and Griffin. That was just how I imagined it when I was reading it in the bookstore. I invite us to settle in to a quiet time of meditation and reflection. As we share our joys and sorrows, if you would like one to be spoken aloud during the service, you may write it into this book, which lives on the little shelf at the back of the sanctuary, or you may email us from the homepage of the website. There's a yellow button that says Joys and Sorrows, or you may email Reverend Eileen or myself. We listen to these offerings with tenderness, with respect. I invite all of us, those in our nest and those watching online, all of us to join together in a deep breath in, calming our nervous systems, stilling our mind, as we join together in this time of care. These are the joys and sorrows that have been shared before our service today. Happy birthday to Stephen Eason, our custodian. He is 49 today. I hope somebody gave me that, so I hope he's okay with his birthday, how old he is being announced. If you are watching online, we are so grateful for you, Stephen. Happy birthday. Everybody wave. Everybody wave. And a sorrow this morning about the continued attacks on the rights of trans people in the U.S. This was shared anonymously. I was with a progressive, concerned medical provider this week who asked me what I was doing this weekend. When I said going to the protest, she said, "What protest? And will the administration even care?" This got me wondering why she wouldn't know about it or be moved to come. One reason might be the overwhelm. The other is that it is possible she doesn't feel she belongs at a protest for trans rights if she thinks she doesn't know any trans people personally, although she probably does. My message today is that we all belong. Trans people need to see supportive allies right now. It's scary out there right now. Sharing of these concerns of the heart is part of our practice of beloved community. Together we expand our celebrations and lessens the burden of our grief. You're invited now to come forward with what is on your heart and mind today. There are candles in the tables on the corner or here at the front. If you are at home, you're invited to light a candle there as well. If you need a candle brought to you, please raise your hand, and Kylie will bring a candle to you. Please come forward. Please join me in our shared words. For these joys we give our thanks. For these sorrows we give our love. Please join me in an attitude of prayer and meditation as I share this adapted prayer of presence by Margaret Keep. As we have each been blessed in our lives by the gifts and the giving of others, let us reach out now. Reach out right now with your senses to those near to you. Listen for each other's breathing. Feel the warmth of each other's bodies lined up in chairs next to each other, sitting in the nest next to each other, at home, on our couches next to each other. Smell the perfume and the hair paste in the air. Make this community of being, which we together are, make it now tangible. Feel it. It is real. We are real. We are here. We are now. And in this moment, we can never be anywhere else. So what we withhold from this moment, we withhold from ourselves and the world. What we deny in this moment, we deny to ourselves and to life. Only what we keep, only what we give, do we ever get to keep. So, dear friends, let us live into our dreams and make them as real as we are. Let us become them so that we ourselves are a gift and a giving. Amen, and blessed be. As we sing our response, number 1002, Comfort Me, our young people, preschool through 8th grade, are invited to head to their faith formation time with their adult leaders.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort
As we say in our covenant each Sunday, service is our law. UCE is called by our mission, our values, and principles to contribute to the community, to form accountable partnerships, and to express gratitude through giving. Today's offering will be shared with the Unitarian Universalist Advocacy Network, Illinois, known as UUANI. UUANI empowers Unitarian Universalists across Illinois to work for spiritually grounded, relationally accountable, and strategically effective action in solidarity with those most impacted by injustice. You may text to give, mail in a check, put cash in the collection bowls, of course, or give from our website. If you write a check, please indicate in the memo line if your check is for the shared offering or some other giving. The ushers will now come forward to pass the collection bowls down the rows. Please give as generously as you are able, and may what you give bring you joy.
Thank you so much, Gregory. That was wonderful. I missed the music while I was gone. Thank you all for your generosity. If you have an order of service, it says that Sarah's going to do a reading, but I had a change of plans. Many of you know that I returned 2 weeks ago after being away on a sabbatical for 3 months. My experiences during that time were deeper and more varied than I could have imagined. And it will take me until my next sabbatical to share all of those experiences with you. Since many of you asked, instead of a reading, I put together 5 minutes worth of photos to share a few moments of beauty and joy and awe that I experienced. I am still feeling a bit euphoric from some of the more profound moments that I had. So I'm going. Oh, Adam, you'll have to look at the script and turn the slides. I don't see the clicker. So I'm going to turn on my headset and sit down and invite you to look at the photos while I tell you a bit. So these are in Nepal. I took all of the photos unless there we go. I took all of the photos unless I specifically say it's someone else. Early in my trip, my friend from seminary and I hired a guide to drive us into the mountains at 5 a.m. to watch the sunrise, which is the photo on the left. He was then our hiking guide for a 4-hour trek, and I know many people go to the Himalayas and trek for like 7 to 14 days, but I went for 4 hours, and it was wonderful. And the photo on the right is of the terraced farmlands that we walked by, and you can see up into the forested mountains that we walked through to reach a place called Canggu Narayan. The next slide is of Canggu Narayan. On the left, it is a Hindu temple complex founded in the 4th century. You can see me looking like a tourist in my sun hat and dirty pant legs. It was the dry season, and so the roads we walked on were mostly dirt, and the paths in the forest were also dirt, and so I was really glad to have a mask because it was really dusty. I had bought marigolds from the woman in the picture, and before I left the temple complex, she came back over to me and gave me 3 marigolds that are tucked behind my ear to bless me and asked me to take our photo together. The photo on the right is of Swayambhunath Stupa. That's a Buddhist temple complex that was founded in the 5th century. And this architectural style with the white rounded base and the pointed tower to hang the prayer flags from was very typical from small to very large Buddhist temples throughout the Kathmandu Valley. It was spring in Nepal, so on our mountain trek, we kept encountering baby goats. There were no fences, and they would be jumping on each other as baby goats do. It was pure joy. And another name for the Swayambhunath Stupa is the Monkey Temple. And being spring, there were baby monkeys everywhere. This one in the picture was actually photographed by UCE member Laura Cusillo, who also recently traveled through Nepal. The statue on the left is of the Buddha, and it is also at the Swayambhunath temple complex. I want to point out the building behind the statue. It is a school of painting, and the students there learn traditional skills and typically paint mandalas. On the rooftop of the school is this image of a Star Wars stormtrooper meditating, and that's the image on the right. It's just one fun example of the intersection of old and new in Nepal. The Friday before I left Nepal, there was a special 3-hour puja, or prayer service. English-speaking attendees were provided chant books that had the chants written out phonetically. You can see the book in the foreground of on the left. And then in Morocco, after an outdoor evening performance, one of the young drummers asked if anybody would like to try his drums. I was the last person in line, and he thought I was a good student, as he put it. So then he and I played, just the two of us, for a half an hour, just under the stars. It was really, yeah, wow, it was exactly that. And then the desert. I asked Sarah to be my worship associate because she also recently traveled in Morocco. The photo on the left is hers. She's the shadow on the second camel shadow. The photo on the right shows some of the desert plant life in the foreground. I was surprised by how much green there was amongst the dunes. And really, I cannot adequately express the experience I had in the dunes. It was an experience that made me feel like I have the capacity and the strength to withstand anything, and made me feel incredibly fragile, all at the same time. It was a rare gift. My last day in Morocco, I went on a hot air balloon ride, the first one I've ever been on. We just floated off the ground. It was amazing. This photo is taken by my college friend Susan Neinreiter from our balloon basket and captures the other balloons in our flotilla. There were about 30, maybe 35 balloons that all took off that morning. And the last is a reminder that you don't have to travel to find beauty and awe and joy. The photo on the left is from my walk yesterday out to the lake and the daffodils that are currently blooming in my front yard. I am grateful to this community for the time for rest and restoration, and I am grateful to be back here with you. Thank you, Adam. Our anthem today is the song East to the West by Michael Franti and Spearhead. It was released in 2006, and you may recognize it. I have put the lyrics on the screen, and Adam's gonna play the song over the speakers, and I invite you to sing along. And if you feel moved, you can follow my movements during the chorus. We're gonna have our palms face the directions as they are named, and you can make a heart, a finger heart, a hand heart, an arm heart, whatever you feel moved to do when the one love people are mentioned. Please rise in body and spirit to join in our anthem together.
One to the morning, one to the one to the air and the freshness we breathe in, one to the force of the change in the seasons, one to the mother from which all things come, one to the daughters and one to the sons, one to the father who helps us believe that nothing's ever gonna harm you, see. One to the soldier who walks city swamps in, one to the soldier who fights overseas, one to the man who gets down on his knees and prays for guidance and protection. one to the culture from the time when it began, one to destruction, one to birth, one to the people who still fight for the earth, one to the people who suffer for their needs, and one to the rebels who love rockin' to the beats, and one to the healer who fights a disease, and one to the Lorax who speaks for the trees. There's no amount of money and no amount of man can bring back to life what's gone when it's done, and one to the people who rise with the sun, and one to the people who sleep when it's done. To the east, to the west, to the north and south, to the east, to the west, one love, people never gonna stop. To the east, to the west, to the north and south, to the east, to the west, one love, people never gonna stop. This whole thing seems upside down. The whole wide world keeps turning around. This whole thing seems upside down, but the whole wide world keeps turning around. Life is too short to make just one decision. Music too large for just one station. Love is too big for just one nation, and God is too big for just one religion. One to the practice of being in the flow, and one to the tears of the things we let go, and one to the moment we live in right now, and one to the east, west, north, and south. To the east, to the west, to the north and south, to the east, to the west, one love, people never gonna stop. To the east, to the west, to the north and south, to the east, to the west, one love, people never gonna stop. Sing. This whole thing seems upside down, but the whole wide world keeps turning around. The whole thing seems upside down, but the whole wide world keeps turning around. The whole thing seems upside down, but the whole wide world keeps turning around. The whole thing seems upside down, but the whole wide world keeps turning around. The whole thing seems upside down, to the east, to the west, turning around. The whole thing seems upside down, the whole wide world keeps turning around.
That song came to my mind because of the lyrics, God is too big for just one religion. I stayed at Kopan Monastery in the Kathmandu Valley of Nepal for a 10-day class focused on Tibetan Buddhism and meditation. The monastery is located on a hilltop that was once the royal family's personal observatory. The Tibetan community acquired the land from the Nepalese royal family in the mid-1960s, and I say hilltop from the perspective of the Nepali, because I am a prairie person, and even the foothills of the Himalayas seemed like mountains to me. At the monastery, we were required to leave our phones and anything else that connected to the internet in the safe. So these photos are actually from the first day before we checked in for class. The left is of the front entryway, and I'm actually a wee little person in that photo. And then the other side is the garden, and they had this beautiful garden that I'm standing at the top of the hill taking a picture down onto the garden. We were expected to attend 3 daily sessions on Tibetan Buddhism, to participate in 2 meditation sessions every day, and to engage in what they referred to as noble silence for the last 2.5 days. Our class of 68 students from over 24 countries was divided into small groups that met for 1 hour every day. I was with a group of 7, and we were from 5 different countries. Besides learning about our different theological backgrounds, we also talked about our homes. We talked about our families, and we talked about our country's politics. The United States is not the only country struggling as old paradigms fight to maintain power in a society ready for a transformative future. These cultural and political struggles are also personal. They do affect our everyday lives. asking people to speak to their personally held values and identities, to identify their fears around survival and belonging, to be accountable for their words and their actions. These things make conversations challenging when we disagree, or even sometimes when we agree in principle, but we have different ideas about the details in practice. And when conversations are difficult, it is often easier to avoid the topic or cut off contact with the other person. Oftentimes, the harder path is to remain in conversation, to remain in relationship as you come to understand each other. And I want to be really clear, I am not talking about abusive relationships. If someone is causing you harm physically or mentally, do what is best for you to stay safe and protect yourself. Reach out to someone, maybe someone here in the congregation, for support. Often there are moments in our lives for potential understanding, for broadening our understanding with people we encounter at work, in our neighborhood, at our family gathering where we volunteer. When a topic arises that is an opportunity for a challenging conversation, it can be tricky because both people have to be open to it. If one person is simply lecturing or trying to egg the other on, it will not lead to a deeper level of understanding between them. I was in a great small group. We clicked right away. So because of that, after only a few sessions, we were talking about complicated theological, political, and cultural topics, and we were really sharing with each other about our lives. We did have different viewpoints about many things, but few of them felt challenging in a way that made me want to either shut down or yell, like our Yeti. Those intense emotions are how I personally know the topic at hand is of deep importance to me. There is a moment when I could choose to let my emotions shut down the conversation instead of recognize them for what they are, an indicator that one of my core values or my core identities is part of the discussion. One of the other Americans in my small group expressed that he was planning to not come back to the US until things were better. And in that moment, I realized that felt threatening to something core in me. I feel my way of life is being threatened here. I value my extended family, who at this point is an interracial family with young kids of color. And I fear for them being detained based on the color of their skin. I value access to health care as a woman and the spouse of someone who is immunocompromised. I value my freedom to vote and to disagree with elected officers in the government. I value the right to show up this afternoon at 1 p.m. in Federal Plaza for a rally, or next Saturday at noon in Daley Plaza for a demonstration. And I know that these are not unique to me. And I feel many of the things I value are under attack, so it is with great effort that I was able to stay in that conversation with this person about what I feel is the need to stay here, to have my voice be part of the voices that are shaping the future of my country. At the end of that small group conversation, no one had changed their plans, but we understood each other. More importantly, we had stayed in the conversation and been able to maintain our relationship, and were able to spend the rest of the week continuing to have deep and enlightening conversations. Again, this was only possible because both of us were willing to share our thoughts with each other in that conversation and to be open to really hearing what the other one had to say. I went to Kopan Monastery to learn more techniques about meditation, which I did, and I'm figuring out when I'm going to be able to share that with you folks who are interested. But what I also gained while there was a reassurance that the spiritual practices that I'm already doing here at home every day and every week are in fact enough to fill me up and provide me with the tools and energy I need to engage in difficult conversations and stay in relationship as I continue to live my values out in the world. I want everyone here, everyone online, to take a moment to think about one spiritual practice that you are engaged in that replenishes you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And as you're thinking about picking one, if you have more than one, to silently pick one word or short phrase that represents that spiritual practice. If you don't have a spiritual practice right now, I invite you to think about one that you might like to try. And in a moment, we're going to say that one word or phrase out loud together. So think of that one spiritual practice now. Okay, on 3, we're going to say your spiritual practice out loud. 1, 2, 3, lakefront walk. Yeah, look at all those things that we have amongst us to fill us up. Hold those spiritual practices close. Learn new ones. As we continue to grow our UCE community, as we continue to share our UU values with the world, there will be opportunities for lots of challenging conversation. And each one of us needs to be tending to the core of our being in order to be able to have the capacity to be open to understanding each other. Blessed be. As we extinguish the chalice, please join in saying the words on the screen by the Reverend Elizabeth Sell Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please rise in body and/or spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. Take time to strengthen your spiritual practices. Spend time getting to know yourself, and through that knowledge, be able to understand others. And know that you are loved for exactly who you are. Blessed be. Go in peace.